All right, let's go up north to Queensland. Queensland Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk today announced sweeping changes to bail laws for youth offenders. Now, it comes just days after the hit-and-run deaths of Kate Ledbetter and Matt Field and their unborn son Miles in Alexandra Hills, and the alleged murder of a 22-year-old aspiring policewoman Jennifer Board in Townsville, allegedly killed by vigilantes chasing a stolen car. For more on this, I'm joined now from Brisbane by the President of the Queensland Police Union, Ian Levers, and from Townsville by the LNP MP for Herbert and former Army veteran and youth crime advocate, Philip Thompson. Ian, I'll start with you if I can. Anastasia Palaszczuk announced all of these measures today. They include GPS trackers on high-risk recidivist offenders, so offenders that keep committing the crimes, creating a presumption against bail for youth offenders arrested for serious indictable offences, and seeking assurances from parents before release to ensure that bail conditions can be met. What do you make of the announcements tonight, and are they enough?
Look, this is a real positive start, and I'm pleased that the government has listened to the police union. And my role is I talk to police on the ground right across Queensland. Now, with the GPS anklets for 16 and 17-year-olds, that is a real positive thing. And what I would like to see, and I'd like to go into the future further, because I'd like to see anyone who breaches bail, whether they be a youth or an adult, the same would apply, and they'd be fitted with the GPS trackers. So I'm very interested to look at the success of this, and it was one of our initiatives. But also the presumption in relation to why someone should get bail or not get bail. That is a very positive thing, and I hope that the courts take this seriously, and some of those in the courts don't look at an opportunity to be able to interfere in any way, shape or form. But we have to look at if they are at risk of committing other crimes, they should not be granted bail. That is a no-brainer, as well as ensuring with these young people that they have somewhere to go. There is no point releasing a person on bail if they do not have a supportive environment to go to. Otherwise, they will reoffend and they will be back in the watch house and before the courts. This is a real positive step in the right direction, but what I'm going to be doing, I'm still going to be holding the Youth Crime Summit nationally into the future, because we have started, and working with my colleagues around the country, there is more to be done, and I think it needs all levels of government to be involved. And I'd like to see federally that we dock welfare payments for those caregivers who are not stepping up to the mark and providing a safe and secure environment for the young offenders in their care.
And I'll come back to some of the points you made there. Particularly, there's a lot of discretion still left in this system after the announcements, and the discretion. The lawyer in me is worried about the level of discretion in that governments and premiers can make good announcements, but unless they are implemented, nothing much changes. But I want to go to Phil. Phil, Jennifer Broad's death, unimaginably sad, right? Your electorate encompasses much of Townsville. I reckon when you not long were in the Parliament, we sat down and had a chat, one of the first interviews you gave as a new member, and you put youth crime absolutely front and centre. That's probably nearly 2 years ago. Are you surprised that we are now at this point in time?
First and foremost, I want to offer my sincere condolences to Jennifer, her friends, her loved ones, and the wider Townsville community who's mourning this loss. Just on the weekend, there was a community memorial held. There's a lot of upset, anger and emotion there. We could see this coming for some time. Like you said, Peter, 2 years we spoke about this. I don't believe these announcements from the Premier reflect community expectation. And the reason I don't believe that it's good enough, and respect to Ian, and I love the work he does, and the police do a fantastic job, but breach of bail is still not an offence. Unlawful use of a motor vehicle isn't an indictable offence, which is what they talk about. We're still going to see the revolving door. But the most thing that's something that's extremely sticking out to me is in the Youth Justice Act, it says very clearly that a young person must go to detention or go to detention as a last resort. So any a defence lawyer that's worth their weight in salt will sit there with a young person who's got multiple breaches of bail, multiple serious offences, multiple unlawful driving a motor vehicle, will sit there and say to the magistrate, I don't think that this is the last resort. I think there are still other avenues for this young person to go to. Now, what's the magistrate going to do? Go against the legislation and put that young person in detention, or follow the legislation as it's there and release them back on bail? I don't think this is anywhere near good enough. I don't think the Premier understands the feel on the ground. The Labor MPs here locally have done nothing. I've written to all of them. What I'd like to see is an immediate recall of Queensland Parliament. Call them back right now and start passing laws, start doing your job and start looking after the community.
I mean, Ian, that point well made there by Phil, echoed a little bit by me at the start. You know, that there is plenty of loopholes in these announcements. What's an indictable offence? What's a summary offence? Things I think most of the community would regard as being worthy of being locked up. A good lawyer will get the juvenile out. Your members are at the coalface. The judiciary is a long way removed. Obviously, in many cases, it can't be bound. You can't force the judiciary to make particular judgments, of course. And the Queensland Premier might make a statement like this, but are you confident we're going to see change? And your point about having your crime summit, what do you want to be the outcome in your crime summit that has not been delivered by the Premier today?
Look, what I think, and I accept what Phil says, and condolences to the family too on behalf of all Queensland Police, and particularly my colleagues who attended the horrific scene. It was devastating for them, and I'm with Phil on that. But what I will say, we are in a better position than what we were this time last week. And people who know me know I won't go away. If things aren't working, my voice will not be silent. I will continue to campaign every step of the way until we get a solution. But I think it needs to be done on many levels. It's not just a policing issue. In fact, I'll suggest by the time it gets to the police, it's too late. We need to work with you, Justice, Child Safety. We need to work with them and ensure that they do their jobs. They need to work shift work, because I can tell you from being in the Child Protection Investigation Unit, crime and harm to children doesn't stop at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So I think we need to do that.
Yeah,
and if it doesn't go far enough...
I want to just grab Phil on a point that talks to you. You're saying that things have to happen long before the kid commits the crime and ends up before the police. Absolutely, we agree with that. But Phil, at the recent state election, Deb Frecklington was proposing a curfew for teens, a curfew in and around your area and Cairns, and she was mocked by Anastasia Palaszczuk and she was called racist by some. Let's have a listen.
It has had mixed reactions across the board. I understand police don't like it. I understand community organisations don't like it. She needs to explain how it would work, how this thought bubble came about.
Now, at the same time she was saying that curfews don't work, we obviously had curfews right across Melbourne, Phil, and curfews worked in Melbourne. We saw lockdown issues and COVID cases go down, but we also saw crime go down. So should a curfew be on the table for your area?
I think everything should be on the table. And to be honest, when we were talking about a curfew, I wasn't the biggest fan of it because, you know, we needed to explore what that would actually mean. I don't think anything should be off the table. The one thing, a part of that announcement that I really liked was the community refuge, which they were going to spend, the LNP Queensland was going to spend a fair bit of money building this place, which will have social workers, which will have psychologists, housing, for where these young people to then target, okay, where have we gone wrong? All levels of government, all the family, bringing everyone in and going, where can we start fixing the issues and go to the root problem? But what we're seeing with a lot of these people stealing cars, they like getting their face in the paper. They want to be on TV. They're laughing and mocking the victims, as we've seen on Facebook just recently. And the police, I can't thank them enough for the tireless work they do, But you're arresting someone in the morning, releasing them in the afternoon, and then they're stealing someone's car down the road that night, and then happens again and again and again. And
their hands are tied. Their hands are tied. I've got to leave it there, but I'm not going to leave the issue. Phil Thompson, Ian Levers will come back to this time and time again. It's one of the issues, I tell you what, my Facebook page blows up every time we want to talk about this issue because people at the coalface, particularly in northern Queensland, are absolutely fired up about it and want change.